Hey everyone, it's me, Lance Meister, the Undead Viking, and I'm here to tell you about this game, Gruff. Now, if you were wondering what Gruff is about, and if you thought about it for a second, you said, is that about goats? You'd be absolutely correct. This is a game about goats. It is technically a two-player combat card game in which both players are playing a shepherd who have a flock of 3 sheep each, and they're doing battle to the death. Now, you might be saying, what? But the difference here is that this is like a fantasy-themed game, and each shepherd is actually like a bit of a magician or a sorcerer, if you will. And the goats they have are actually these crazed, mutated animals that don't really look much like goats anymore, that are doing battle and trying to you're trying to get your goats past your opponent's goats so that you can actually attack and kill the other shepherd and win the game. You accomplish this by having, like I said, each person has 3 goats. You accomplish this by having a deck of cards that you will go through, and you will give those goats powers and abilities. You will increase their stats as time goes, and then you will actually then send them off into the battlefield to attack the other goats in the hopes that you will actually then kill that goat, and then like it's one of those things where it's like you roll over the damage to the shepherd behind them. And it is a very fast and very confrontational, obviously, game. After you and your opponent learn how the game is played, you should be able to get through a game of Gruff in about 20 minutes at max, really. I mean, it is one of those games that rewards repeated plays due to the fact that you'll learn different cards and you'll learn different combinations, and so it's a thing that you're constantly trying to build up your abilities. Get the cards in your hand that you need, so you can have a nice little combo, and you can like put the finishing blow on your opponent. And it's I've been playing a lot of 2-player games lately. I've had a lot more one-on-one game time with a couple of my buddies at work, and this is one of those games that we've been having a lot of fun with. So let me show you how a game of Gruff is played, and then we'll come back here and I'll tell you more about the game and why I like it, and hopefully somewhere along the way you can figure out whether or not it's a game you want to add to your shelf. Alright, cool. Let's show you how to play Gruff. This is Gruff. You can set up for the 2 players. This is one side and that's the other. These are the goats that they have that they'll be using to do battle, and these are the 2 shepherds that are doing battle against each other. I'll show those cards to you in just a second. I just want to touch on a few things. Obviously these are sliders, and I'll show those to you when I show you the cards up close. You'll be moving those up and down on the different charts on either side, just to designate, like different stats for the goats and stats for the shepherds as well. The orientation here is important because of the fact that the goat can only attack normally the thing that's in front of them. So when they attack, they're attacking the one across from them. So that's important to note as well. Now, so when you start the game, what's going to happen is that you're going to make a 24-card deck. There are plenty more cards. You can go through there and you can build the different cards or whatever that go along with the goats. You can pick which ones that you want to take. I've selected more of the basic cards in this situation just so I can kind of show you some of the basic situations, if you will. I know when the game is published, it's going to come with a ton more goats. It's going to come with a ton more different shepherds and things like that. In this case, I only have these 6 goats and these 2 shepherds. So here, I'll just show you a shepherd really quick. This is Gristle. He's kind of like a dwarf guy, and he's kind of all grumpy and whatever. He has 8 life, and this is his crazy stat. Now, the crazy stat is kind of... yeah, it's crazy stat. So when you activate goats, you're going to increase your crazy normally, because whenever a goats have a stat that is called weird, and when you activate a goat that has any weird stat at all, 1 or above, it's going to increase your crazy. Now that's a good thing actually, because in order for you to use your cards have a crazy cost to them. So like this ability called Devour. This number up here is 3. You have to have at least 3 crazy to do that ability. And crazy will keep increasing, and then like if you get it above 10, obviously you just use this little marker to mark it's above 10. So this, in this case, that would be 10, or like this would be 14 because of the fact that that one is there. You don't use up crazy. Your crazy just has to be enough and equal to or more than the card you want to play. Later on, if you have enough crazy, you can actually play multiple cards, but it doesn't burn it up. Just so you know, so like if you have 9 crazy and you used an ability that costs 7, you wouldn't go back down to 2. You stay at 9. So keep that in mind. Now, goats. Oh, I should mention too that Gristle has whenever Gristle drops below his threshold, the threshold is this little gray bar right there. But return all cards named Protect and Block from your discard pile to your hand. It's important to note. Normally, you never get anything back out of your discard. And once you run out of cards, you're not dead, but you just can't draw any more cards. And so you probably are going to be dead soon because you can't, you probably used up all the cards that are any good, and or you just don't have the options to look with the cards that you have. So, that's like an ability that one he has. So if he takes damage, you get to put those cards back into your hand. So if you have cards with those, it's always wise to use them as soon as possible, because you don't get to go back normally unless you can heal and then take the damage again. Now goats, if you will, I'm just going to grab. Let me grab old Darby. I like old Darby here. Goats have 3 stats. They have a mean stat, which is if they attack, that's their damage in battle. It has a weird stat, which, as I told you before, if you activate them, they increase your crazy by that. And they also have a fat stat. Fat is your defense. It's like your armor, basically. And of course, there's a certain ability. Old Darby gets 1 mean and 1 weird whenever he is moved. And like one of the actions you can do in your turn is you can like move. So like you can go like that and move your goats. And old Darby, he's a grouch. He doesn't like to move. So if you make him move, he's going to become more mean and he's going to become more weird. Just so you can see, like the other side, here's like, this is more like a necromancer shepherd. Grimwood. Whenever Grimwood's life drops below his threshold, he gains 3 crazy. Like, I'm crazy! And, and here's like his weird bug necromantic creature, Skitters. Skitters gets +2 mean whenever she attacks, And these little things in here, like Skull Clan, those are descriptive words. So you'll have cards that you'll say, like, if like, the creature has Skull Clan, they have this effect, that sort of thing. So and those are important to remember and important to watch because, when they happen, there's going to be added effects and whatever. So, the way the game is played, you determine the first player, whatever, it doesn't matter. And then first people draw 5 cards. They have an opening hand of 5 cards. And on their turn, what they would do at the very beginning, it wouldn't happen obviously in the very first turn of the game because of the fact that it's the first turn of the game. But what you would end up doing is, like, if you had a goat out, like because you declared an attack, if they were still out there and they were still active, they hadn't been killed or returned back through some action, then you get to finish your attack. And so then you would check the mean of the goat that's attacking and any other modifiers that might be out there compared to the fat of the thing that it was attacking. If your mean is less than their fat, then plus any other, there can be defensive modifiers as well. If it's less than that, then nothing happens. It doesn't fight back or anything like that. You're just unable to defeat it, because of the fact that you're not tough enough, you're not mean enough. But if your mean is equal to the thing that you're fighting, you'll kill it. And if you kill it, you turn it upside down like that. Don't worry if your goats get killed, that you can resurrect them. You can bring them back, and it's very important that you actually do that because they're your defense. If you did more damage with your attack, then they have fat. You kill them, and then whatever extra damage will then go forward and do it. So, like, if this guy had fat 2 and I had mean of 4, I'd kill him, and then I'd force my opponent to take 2 points of damage, and then so he'd move his life down, like so. So, pretty straightforward. So I kind of jumped the gun a little bit, but that's one of that on your turn, and it wouldn't happen obviously in the first turn of the game. On your turn, that's the first thing that you do. So then what you're going to do is you're going to take your turn. And that means the first thing you do is you draw a card. So you just draw a card. Put it in your hand. Pretty simple, right? Just draw a card. And then you get to activate a goat. Now, when you activate a goat, it doesn't mean it's necessarily going to fight. You're just activating it. And you're going to be, when you do your tactical action, the vast majority of the tactical actions, other than resurrecting a goat, they're all the goat that you've activated. And you just designate your goat that you want to activate, and you take your action. So, like if I want to move Darby, so I can get his +1 mean and +1 weird, so I'm going to do that as my tactical action. I'd say, okay, I'm activating Darby. And so, then you're like, okay, fine. And so, then, at that point, then you can say, then you play cards. And so you look at your crazy, it's 0 right now, so I can't do anything. But normally if it was higher, you'd go through your cards. You know, if I even had 1, I could, like, Speedy, the active Gruff swaps places with another Gruff on your team. Or Block, with this card is in play, your target Gruff gets +2 defense. It's important to note that, like, these little figures here, like this little hourglass, an hourglass action lasts until your next turn. So if you put that on there, like, you know, then you have that there, and then, like, in my next turn I have to take it off. If they have, let me see if I have one. Yes, I do. If they have this little, like, helix on there, that's a mutation, and when you put that on a creature, it stays there unless the other player does something to remove it through some ability. And there are some that are just actions. You just take the action that's on the card, and they're a little check mark like that, and then they just happen, and then you discard the card immediately. But in this case, so, like, I couldn't play any cards anyway because I don't have any crazy right now. So I've activated Old Darby, and then I can take one of my my tactical action, which is either moving, attacking, growing, or resurrection. So moving, I've already said, I'm going to move him over here, replace it, and then if there's some sort of thing that happens when you move, you do it. So I get, Old Darby gets +1 mean and +1 weird, so I can actually make him a 2 mean and a 2 weird. Oh, I apologize. He's actually got 1 weird. So when I activated him, what I should have done is go like this, like that. And so I've activated him. And so I could have. Well, I don't want to have a block out there. And I don't really want to do Speedy yet because I don't want to swap things around. So I wouldn't have used a card anyway. But so then I do that, but I get to add that +1 to his mean, plus in there, and so then that's my turn. I've done an activation. Now, if I didn't want, the other options you have are you can grow. So let's say I activated this guy. I activated Gusto. And notice how, like, when I activate him, Gusto gets +1 mean when he's activated. So I activated him, so we go ahead and increase that. When you grow something, you just get to increase one of their stats by 1. So I can, he's got a weird of 0. He doesn't give me any if I activate him. So, like, I just go ahead, okay, I'm going to make him more weird. I'm going to grow that 1. That'd be an entire action. Attack, you pick the thing that you're going to attack. So, like, if I had Gaptooth, like, I move him out there, and I'm going to say Gaptooth is going to attack Bubbles, and that's my action. So, and then, of course, you have to, like, exhaust them by turning them like that, so you can show that, like, because you don't get to unexhaust, unless, you have a card or some other ability that does it for you, you don't get to unexhaust any of your goats until it's the beginning of your turn. All of them are either dead or exhausted. And then when you turn, then you'd unexhaust them at that point. Now, the fourth action you can do, like if I had activated Gaptooth and, like, okay, did this thing, my fourth action, in this case, if I had one of my goats dead, I can then take the action of Resurrect, and then I can bring that guy back from the dead. And he comes back refreshed. He isn't exhausted or anything like that. And if I had increased any of his stats, they stay the same. And if I had like, any kind of a mutation on him, like I'd put this mutation of Grouchy on him, the Grouchy stays with them. He doesn't lose that stuff. He's still been expanded, still been changed, and still, like, leveled up, if you will. So, in a nutshell, I mean, that's the game. I mean, there's all kinds of different cards that do different things, and they range from having, like small points, like 3 or 1, all the way up to like 16 with burned rubber. Your Gruffs may move once without spending an action at the beginning of the tactical phase, and that's like a permanent thing. All of them can just move around. And so what really happens, though, the crux of the game, is when you attack with somebody, the opposing player has to figure out how they're going to be able to defend against that damage. Do I activate another one and move them into the place to take it because they have extra powers? Do I go through my deck, and find a thing like Evolve to increase his fat? Evolve, target Gruff gains +1 to any stat. And then maybe you take the grow thing as well, so you increase the fat by 2 on one thing with that. Or here, there's also different things in here that allow you to do more like if you're attacking, things that cards that do more damage. Or there's one in here, and I'm trying to find it here, maybe when you do your attack, this was really powerful, 18 there, but target Gruff loses 4 fat. So I'm going to attack, and I'm going to go ahead, and that guy that you've been building up for a while and he's got really good defense, we're going to go ahead and remove it. I mean, some abilities like this is like the Necro Dance. This guy kills Zumberg. Zumberg is one of his goats. You kill him off, turn him over, and if you do, the Shepherd gains 5 hit points. So the Necromancer guy's kind of on the ropes, but at the last second, he plays that card and takes care of it like that. I mean, there's cards on this one, it's Protect. When the condition is played, the active Gruff may swap places with the Gruff on your team while this card is in play. Your active Gruff gets +2 defense. So, I mean, stuff like that, where you can, get extra defense to defend yourself. Or even just something as simple as a block card. While this card is in play, target Gruff gets +2 defense. And so, that's where the game lies. It's like having your card management to make sure that you have cards that are going to boost your ability to attack the other guy, but also having some cards in reserve that are going to allow you to either move your goats around to optimal positions, or increase their stats temporarily so you can't get hurt and can't get killed. Obviously, whoever kills the other person first wins the game. When you run out of cards, you just don't draw anymore. You don't lose. You play with the cards you got, and once those are gone, you just play. I've never had that happen. Somebody's lost by then, but I mean, I guess technically that could happen, but I doubt it. It'll happen very often. But there you go. I mean, that's Gruff. The artwork's really cool, as I showed you. And the gameplay, though, it is very straightforward. It has a lot of nooks and crannies, a lot of depth, and a lot of fun figuring out the cool card combinations and stuff. And just so I wanted to show you, these are kind of like the more advanced cards. They're still, designated for the certain Gruffs, the goats, if you will. And so you can go through here and you can build your deck and decide which ones you want to use. Stuff like this, mutating Gruff. When the Gruff grows, look at the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck and put them back in any order. I mean, if you've played card games, you've probably seen these actions and these abilities before, but this is kind of a neat little fun take on it. The theme is obviously something new. At least I've never played the game with mutated goats fighting each other, but I enjoy the quick setup and the fast paced action of it, and I enjoy trying to outwit my opponents. But let me talk more about that in my conclusion, which I'll do right now. Thank you very much for watching that. I appreciate it very much. The game of Gruff. I don't know how they came up with the idea, what if we had mutated goats that attacked each other and tried to kill shepherds? It's what a fantastic idea. I mean, who knows if they always went with goats. I mean, it could have been anything to start with, but thank goodness they actually landed on goats and stayed with it, because I really enjoy the theme, and I really enjoy the kind of crazy mentality of the game. One of the things that I really like about it is the whole exhaustion of your line of goats, if you will. The fact that you can't bring the goats unexhausted, technically, normally, until all of them have either been killed or exhausted themselves. In which case, then you're able to get them all ready to go again. And I like all the different parts of the game as far as the way you have different powers and abilities that will increase different stats. I like the fact that the whole process of putting the attack forward and then waiting to see what your opponent does to try to negate that attack. I like that aspect of the game. It didn't feel like a lot of the other card games out there that just felt like, all right, here's my cards that I'm attacking you. Oh, I didn't do anything. Okay, go ahead and attack me. Oh, I didn't do anything. Okay, go ahead and attack you. The fact that it's like, okay, this guy's gonna be doing 6 damage to that goat, and you get 1 round. Go. What are you going to do to stop it? It wasn't one of those things where it's like you have those, does he have a card that instantly affects me if I try to do something? And not that that's a bad thing, but I mean, it was just like I've played so many games like that. I do like this whole preparation part of the game. And I really, like I said, I really like that whole thing that you can't use a goat again until you've used all the other goats. You can't just pimp out one goat and... I feel so weird saying this. You can't pimp out your goat. You can't really make one of your mutated goats super powerful and leave the others to the wayside, because they still have to go and they still have to act, and before you can use your really, really good goat, if you will. So I mean, for that reason, I mean, it's just like I said, it's highly competitive. It rewards multiple plays. You learn different strategies. You learn different card combinations. I'm really excited to actually see the final copy of the game, because I want to see what the other shepherds do, and I want to see what the other goats do as well. And so, I mean, the artwork is amazing. The gameplay is really easy to teach, and as long as you've played any kind of a attack card game, I don't think you're going to have any problem teaching this to people. It's one of those games I've taught it to 4 or 5 people, and it's just always within 1 round they've got it. And you're good to go. So there you go. I mean, that's Gruff. It's a heck of a lot of fun. If you like combative card games with crazy fantasy themes, I think this is something you're gonna want to put on your shelf. It's gonna be, I'm assuming, because it's basically cards, it's gonna be small enough that you're gonna be able to carry it with you wherever you go. I myself taken my copy to work and played it with my buddies there. So it's one of those games that goes into my bag and stays there. Just because of the fact that if I've got 25 minutes and I'm eating a sandwich, why not play a game of mutated goats battling for supremacy at the same time? All right. Well, thank you as always for taking time to watch this video. I really appreciate you doing that. And until next time, this was Undead Viking telling you to have yourself one heck of an awesome day. All right. Bye-bye.